Rise for the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item C on the agenda is approval of minutes from April 5th, 2021, regular council meeting minutes. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the minutes shall stand approved. Okay, item D, citizen communication. If there's someone on the WebEx that would like to address council, anything other than what is on the agenda, please address us in the chat. Okay, moving on to item E, reports from council committees. E1, Electric Committee met on April 12th. Lori?
Thank you, Council President. We accepted the BOPA's recommendation to approve the power supply cost adjustment factor for April 2021 and was given an update on the state of our substations.
Thank you. And E2, the Water, Sewer, Refuse, Recycling, and Litter Committee meeting was canceled due to lack of agenda items. And E3, Municipal Properties, Building, Land Use, and Economic Development met on April 12th.
Thank you. We made the recommendation to have the Henry County Agriculture Improvement Association give a presentation to the full body of City Council at the May 17th, 2021 City Council meeting.
Thank you, Molly. E4, the Parks and Rec Committee did not meet on April 19th, 2021 due to lack of agenda items. Item G, G1, we have no new ordinances or resolutions. H, we have second reads of ordinances and resolutions, beginning with H1, resolution number 013-21, a resolution authorizing a contract with the Village of Florida for the purpose of operating a water supply distribution system and declaring an emergency. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Joel?
Thank you, Council President. This is just requesting second read of this item. I will note that the Village of Florida okayed their water contract with the city, so it passed under suspension, I believe, last week. Also, just a reminder that if this is approved, we'll also be looking into possibly entering into a long-term O&M agreement with them in their water system, but that'll be something that we'll work out, and we'll bring it back to the Water and Sewer Committee at the appropriate time if things can get detailed out. But everything in this agreement with the Village of Florida is consistent with everything that we sent to them and everything that we discussed with them. So with that, I'll take any questions.
You said they passed theirs under suspension with emergency, so they're done. They're doing 3 reads.
They are not doing 3 reads.
They're not doing 3 reads.
They passed it. Yep. Yeah, passed unanimously at their Monday meeting, which would have been Monday last week.
The 12th.
Yes. Yep. That's my understanding of it. So. But they meet once a month, I believe, not once every other week. So.
That's why I'm just trying to think in my head, should we do a suspension and pass it an emergency and be done, since they kind of did the same thing? Or do we give it 3 reads and wait 2 more weeks? I don't know if there's a big advantage one way or the other. It can just be throwing it out there. Don't matter to me.
When would this take effect?
When we sign the contracts. So the day, everything lines up, we'll do, have everybody that needs to sign it come in and sign it, and then it'll take effect that day, and then it'll last until the end date, which is 2049, June 30th, 2049.
So then why don't we wait 2 weeks? They can get those dates all kind of figured out with the mayor from Florida. We can vote on it, then we kind of know when those dates are going to be. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that all right?
Yep, I think so. Okay, any other questions or comments? Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item I, third readings and ordinances of resolution. I-1, resolution number 008-21, a resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Napoleon to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and receive financial assistance from the Ohio Department of Transportation State Infrastructure Bank Loan Program for the Oakwood Avenue and American Road project and declaring an emergency. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Joel?
Thank you, Council President. Now, I did put something in their weekly FYI. A few things to note with this. The first item is, and let me just check real quick to see if Will Burns is on. I know he was having trouble getting on here, so.
Hey, Joel, I am on.
Oh, good.
Change it to the fourth round.
Thanks, Will. So,
Get Marilyn to throw out the high.
hang on, let me mute him. Oh, looks like he got muted. Okay. So I will say that one of the items later in the agenda is the American Road bids that came in. They came in much lower than what we were anticipating, so that bodes well. There was a lot of concern. We had very high competition when we went through this first phase of American Road. I think we had one bidder, and then this time around we had 9 bidders. So that worked out really well. Everybody sharpened their pencils. We got a very, very competitive bid. When we started this process, we acquired grant funds. We established a TIF district, all in hopes of minimizing the amount of costs needed to do this remaining portion. But I do still believe that doing the remaining portion is the right thing to do for this area for future growth and expansion of the industrial park, as we're starting to run out of land in other places. This is that next frontier of industrial development for Napoleon. With this legislation would allow us to enter into an agreement with the State Infrastructure Bank and acquire a loan to finance the project up front, and we can always at a later date refinance from a different source if need be. I still think this is a good option. I still recommend moving forward with passing this, but in the weekly FYI that I did put out there, and as I discussed 2 weeks ago, we talked about turning over other stones and other options. One of them was talking with the Port Authority, which we did. And they do have an option for us. I think the interest rate's a little higher, but they're a lot more flexible on the terms. So we can tailor things a little differently, so that as it goes with TIF districts, especially this type of 40B TIF district, which is a 30-year rolling TIF. What that means is that any accruals of valuation increases build up over time, and all of that goes towards the TIF fund. So it's really backloaded to when your TIF revenues are going to come in to pay for infrastructure. That said, I did also put in there that an option could be to, and this was something that talking this through with Will and Dennis. Would probably be the cheapest option for the city, in that we'd be able to set terms and conditions and structure it in a way that would suit us best. And that would be to borrow from the Electric Development Fund. and then pay that interest, whatever interest rate is set at that would pay back to the electric development fund rather than to another agency. So right now, I think interest earnings, and sorry, Kelly, but interest earnings, I believe, are at 0.37% right now. Is that correct?
They're coming up for the longer, but it was really low, probably about 0.6, 0.7 at this point.
Okay. So interest earnings on the electric development fund and any of the electric funds right now are very low. As for the end of month number 3, this was in the one of the monthly reports. The balances in the electric utility revenue fund, we have about 4.587 million, and the electric development fund has about has 3.35 million in it now. So
Joel, what would the interest rate be if we were to borrow the money that we need?
the interest rate for
A loan, if we were getting a loan for this?
the SIB?
Yes.
State of Infrastructure Bank is 3%. Flat, just, it's always been that way.
So if we borrowed from the electric, one of the economic development fund, that is only making 0.67%?
Correct.
And say the interest rates on the investments go up, say 3 years from now. At that point, we would have the option to be able to get a loan and then pay that money back to the electric fund so it can start accumulating more interest if it happens to be over 3%.
Correct.
That would be saving on the other end.
Yeah. And you, I mean, it's the city's own fund, so
Right.
it can, the terms and conditions can be set however, whatever's favorable. And in this case, it's, you know, you're with a SIB loan. And again, I still think they're all good options. Even with the Port Authority, I still think it's a good option. It's just, you know, we have options, so what's the best route to go?
Right.
That's kind of the you know, the balancing act here. And you know, initially it was SIB loan because you know, like I mentioned before, terms and conditions were a little bit different than, you know, after a year later, after COVID hit and everything else, we circled back. Will was on the call with me. We've got some of it in writing, but you know, the terms and conditions changed from what was originally described to us. So, but at the end of the day, there's a couple of things at play here. Using the electric development fund, I think, allows us to provide whatever flexibility we want. And like to your point, you know, you set up the terms and conditions in such a way that, you know, if we ever do want to just, you know, refinance and restructure financing through another source, we can do that. That option is always going to be there. So that at the end of the day, the electric utility fund is always made whole.
Is borrowing from the electric fund part of this legislation?
Borrowing from the electric fund is not part of this legislation.
Okay. So this legislation says we can borrow from the SID, right?
Yep,
And what else?
that's it.
Okay.
May I finish? So I want to just finish that thought here because it affects, you know, this decision or future decisions potentially. So just wanted to point out and finish with that the Electric Development Fund, one of the things we've been discussing for well over a year is a deal with the AMP transmission in that if right now the estimates are a net book value of doing an asset transfer to AMP transmission of approximately 5.7 million. And then the net that would fall, amount that would fall into, because there's going to be expenses on our distribution side, the net difference would be about 3.2 million that would also be added to the already existing 3.35 million. So it'll be about 6.5 million or a little over. So those are just a few things to factor in. I would recommend moving forward with this, this option as legislation. We don't have to move forward with it if, borrowing from the Electric Development Fund is another option that would be favorable to the council. But if that is, at the end, I would recommend that, moving forward with requesting the law director to draft legislation to borrow from the Electric Development Fund, if that's something that you want to do as a separate option. And then we can bring that back and then execute whatever agreement is most favorable.
So if we pass this today, we still have the option to,
Yeah, we
Make
won't
a
sign, we
change.
won't sign any of the SIB loan agreements. We still have to go through the loan application process with them anyway. But if the other option is a better option, and we want to go that route, we'll check with Kelly and Billy to make sure that, and anybody else that we need to go through, to make sure that, what we're doing, where everything's on the up and up. And then make sure that the documents are squared away and move forward with something, borrowing from here, if that's.
so the presentation we had from Meter and Associates, was that Eileen, that her name?
Yes.
Okay, and I do remember her saying that if we had any questions on anything, to me, that would be a pretty good question for someone in her position to look at. Does it make sense for us to borrow from money that we already have? And just see what her recommendation would be. And then also maybe put some numbers to this. If Kelly could let us know how much, if we're gonna borrow 1.1 million at 3% versus borrowing the money from the electric fund that was potentially making 0.67. She can run those numbers for us and see what makes sense, save the city as much money as possible.
As a clarification, the 0.67 is just the current, if we went out to get rates right now, but we have the overall portfolio is much more than that. And we would also have to check with the auditor of state to make sure that we could borrow the money for this purpose and for the time frame, as per guidance from Billy before.
Okay. And Kelly, what are your thoughts on this? Is this something worth looking into?
I think as long as we can do it with auditor state because of the time frame and the way the money's going to come back versus the money that was borrowed for the pool was a short term. As long as we can do it, like Joel said, our interest rates are low, so we might as well borrow money if we can and pay ourselves back.
Thank you.
Jason, what are you thinking?
I want to see numbers. Here's this for the SID, here it is for Port Authority, here's for Electric Department. If we borrow from Electric Department, what opportunity costs are we giving up? Right? If we're borrowing $1 million and that million's getting us one, we gotta borrow for more than one to make that difference. And then we can't use that $1 million for anything else until we get it back. Right? And I think we're better off keeping that for potentially coming development than for potentially holding it, the debt holding it for, 20 plus years. But again, I want to see numbers. So, in my mind, we say yes to this, and at the next council meeting, the one after that, we get some solid numbers. This route means this route means this route means this, and we talk it through.
Like I said, I think they're all good options. I think that, the timing of it, the timing of the bid is important because you got to get the bids in at the right time, and we did. And we got favorable bids back. The timing of the TIF district, we had a little bit of, from my end, we got it in. All we had to do was get it in by the end of the year. I would like to have it done sooner, but we got it in by the end of the year, and now leading up to this, we were heading down the path of the SIB loan, and there are some other options. So that's why the timing of this is a little bit off, but again, I think they're all good options. It's just, what's the best option is just want to make sure all the stones are unturned, so you know, what's going to be the best option for the city.
What's our deadline, Joel?
Well, you know, we'd like to award the contract, so, you know, we'd like to have the financing in place before shovels hit at the ground. We still got to do a pre-con meeting and, you know, some other planning. When do you think, you know, actual work would start? Where we would start? June 1st, probably. So, month and a half, 5 to 6 weeks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, that has passed on third read. Okay, moving on to item J, go to the city. J1, discussion or action, power supply cost adjustment factor for April 2021 as PSCA 3-month average factor 0.01364 and JV2 0.047286. Okay, Joel?
Thank you, Council President, and I don't see it here in the packet. Wasn't it here? I see the Planning Commission item, but I don't see the power supply cost adjustment factor. But I will note that the usage for January, February, and March are pretty consistent with previous years. And then when you look at the previous year's version, you'll see that the power supply cost adjustment factor is actually down this month because of the now we're fully out of the Morgan Stanley contract completely. So it is down, and usage is consistent with previous years.
Anybody have any questions or comments regarding this? All right. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item J2, discussion or action, PC 21-02, dedication of portion of Raymond Street east of the 400 block of Raymond Street. Joel?
Did you want to-
So the planning commission met last week on Tuesday to talk about the dedication of Raymond Street, the portion that was recently added on to Raymond Street with the addition of the senior housing that is there now. So this is just basically to extend that portion of Raymond Street and dedicate it back to the city of Napoleon. So that will be basically, they built it, and now we gotta maintain it and take care of it once it's dedicated over to us.
Chad, this meets our city specs and everything up to code the way we want it?
Yes, we have it designed to the current city standards, and we did all the inspections, so it is city standards.
Thank you. All right, someone like to make a motion to accept this back?
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item J3, discussion or action, PC 21-03 subdivision replat of Lot A-2 of the replat of Lot A of Hograves Plat Number 2.
So again, Planning Commission met last Tuesday, and as Mr. Leslie has bought this property, he divides it up into sellable lots, and this is the next most recent subdivision, as you see, the replat of Lot A2 of the replat. So it's just taking a big piece and replatting it so we can sell them as individual lots as the market needs.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
How many more replats can he do?
Great question. I was under the assumption he was finished last time, so this was, I would say surprising, then can I say not? So, yeah.
The tent remnants have been removed.
Yeah, and I see some sold signs out there instead of just for sale signs, so, I know he's selling them as he goes, so.
So looking for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yeah.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item J4, discussion or action, award the American Road and Oakwood Avenue Improvements Project.
I'll just turn it over to Chad.
There was a memo included in your packet. We opened bids last week. This is for the reconstruction of Oakwood Avenue from Route 624 to the American Road intersection, and American Road from that intersection to where we finished our project last year. My estimate with contingency was $1.85 million, and as you can see on the memo, the low bid was Sound Beam Trucking and Excavating at just over $1.35 million. In order to keep the project moving forward, I would just request that council approve award of this project to Sound Beam Trucking and Excavating.
Have we used them before?
I have not. I asked around about them and got some input from other individuals, and there were no red flags. They are also the company that has been hired by the school to do the parking lot expansions. So it's actually about an hour before the bid opening, I mentioned to Brad that I expected them to be competitive since they were in town, and they ended up giving us a little bid. So I did meet with them. The school had a pre-construction meeting for their project last week. So I met with them, and they're hoping to get started as soon as they can. But yeah, they are going to have crews in town, so we're looking forward to the project.
Where are they from?
Michigan. Joel, you know what town in Michigan?
Dundee.
That's right, yeah, Dundee. That's what it was.
Yep. I had them on a project once. They did great. It's probably a $1.5 million project. A little less than that.
And Chad, this, as you said, this is the section from 624 up to American Road, correct?
Yes, and also American Road from Oakwood to where we stopped last
Where you
year.
stopped, okay. And what the city was going to do on Oakwood, the other direction is into 2022, if I recall right.
That got pushed back to 2024, but the design contract is actually going to be discussed shortly to get that project started. But yeah, that's 2024 now because ODOT moved that one back because the roundabout for the ramp at 108 and 24 got pushed back a year due to COVID. So they're pushing Oakwood back a year so they're not at the same time.
Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
All right, could we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
I'm going to abstain.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item J5, discussion or action, approval to enter into agreement for professional design services with Peterman Associates Incorporated for the Oakwood Avenue Improvements Project.
I'm just turning it over to
Chad?
As I mentioned, we did the quality-based selection process for the Oakwood Avenue Improvements Project. This would be from 624 to downtown. Originally, this project was set up to be a full reconstruction with an estimated cost of $4 million. We were awarded a $2 million grant, and so we're looking into modifying that project. It looks like at this time, we'll be able to replace all the curbing and then do a resurfacing, since the pavement itself hasn't failed as much as the curbs have failed. We'll also replace the drainage, which is essentially non-existent. We'll have some water line work. But we went through the quality-based selection process. Peterman was rated as the top firm of those that submitted. And I was able to negotiate their price down to get within our budget. And our budget for the project was $375, and I think we started at $429, but I got them down to $375. Since we're within budget, I would recommend awarding the contract to Peterman and Associates.
Now, with any other project designs, there's always room for possible, coming back and saying, hey, we need a little bit more for the design. How much is that capped at?
There are some executable alternates in the bid, depending on what ODOT makes us do. ODOT has not told us yet if they're going to make us do a environmental survey on the project. We have those numbers preset in the contract. It could increase another 40 or 50,000 if we're forced to do the muscle survey, because we have 2 creeks out there. But we have pre-negotiated those terms, but if we do, I would have to bring those back because we don't have that budgeted yet. But because we also have the project extended a year, we could possibly delay that work into the next budget cycle if it was required. But ODOT has not told us what additional services we're going to have performed.
So if ODOT doesn't make us do additional things, then you don't foresee this amount going up?
I don't foresee it being increased myself, because I think a lot of this was formed around the idea of a typical reconstruction project. And since we're changing the focus a little bit and it's billed hourly and not to exceed, I don't see any reason why this should have to be increased.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
This is what they typically do, road projects?
As far as Peterman,
Mm-hmm.
yes, Peterman designed Industrial Drive. They designed West Washington. They designed Appian Avenue, as well as several other smaller projects for us. And lately, they've also been designing projects. They did the project for the school for Claremont, and they designed the project for that Goodville development. So they've been doing quite a bit of work in town lately, both for us and for private development.
Chad, if we had another engineer in your office, could they take care of this?
This one, probably not, because this one is through ODOT, and ODOT requires pre-qualified, approved firms to do their work.
Okay.
However, I mentioned Washington on that list. That type of project, we could. If ODOT's not involved, we can do them. If ODOT's involved, it's much more difficult.
Okay.
What determines when the ODOT's involved?
If I take money from them.
That makes
Which
sense.
ODOT gave us $2 million.
Right.
It's hard to
Yes.
say no to.
They do have a say. If they pay $2 million, okay.
Yes.
They're putting half the bill. Yeah, I guess you
Yes.
can have a bid.
And that was one of the things when these firms submitted, they had to be pre-qualified by ODOT. Only firms with those qualifications were allowed to apply.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
Motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item J6, discussion or action, accept donations from the Napoleon Rotary Club for improvements at Oberhaus Park Shelter House. Joel?
Thank you. Was it last week? It was the week before. Rotary Club approved of donating half of what it would cost to install TVs and one TV on a stand and one mounted in Oberhaus Shelter House so that they can do Zoom meetings, resume having online meetings. At least we're having hybrid meetings now at Oberhaus, because right now the capabilities really aren't there. So without just having only the phone, with the TV screens and the stand, it's a lot easier to use and easier to have meetings. So somebody from the Rotary Club contacted someone from the Lions Club, and the Lions Club didn't think there was going to be any issue, which is why it's on here. But technically, the Lions Club, that's the next item on the agenda. They voted on it on Wednesday, but I wanted to make sure that they were both on here so that we could expedite the setup for this option to have more modernized remote access and meeting capabilities at Oberhaus. So these will be value added. We're not planning on doing anything with the rates for Oberhaus Park or anything like that. This will just be value added. So, any organizations that want to use it will have access to these facilities. So that's roughly the cost estimate for this is about $2,500. So they were going to go half and half and do $1,250 for each, and then anything over any overages, we'll cover any of the overages if there are any, which will be minuscule.
Are these items already here?
These items are here, so we put them on order, and they showed up quick, surprisingly. So
Who do we order them from?
B&I supplied the TVs. The other stuff, there's not a good way to get them locally. I believe that the other items were switches and maybe some cabling and the TV stand, which is kind of a specialized one where you get wheels around it.
But the big TV came from B&I, came from someplace here in town.
Both of them did, yes.
Both of them did.
And that's the main expense. I mean, that's the
And
majority.
That's
of
kind of
the
what I'm trying to drive at. Is
Gotcha. Yep.
using local people to help support local stuff, you know what I mean, so.
Could I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, item J7, discussion or action, accept donation from the Napoleon Lions Club for improvements at Oberhaus Park Shelter House. What's going on there, Joel?
That's the same thing. It's just they're going to vote on Wednesday, and hopefully it all works out.
Because I do have one question. So if anyone rents that. So if I want to rent that place, I'd be able to use the TVs for, if I wanted to watch a sporting event or something like that, or is that not
yeah,
have those
we don't-
capabilities?
We'll have actually a Wi-Fi access point there now, so
So if I could go off of my own Hulu or something.
have a
and-
device, yeah, that you'd be able to hook up to it.
But
Yes.
not gonna be hooked up to like cable or something where you could just turn it on and we're not
Right.
paying for a service like that.
Right, yeah, and we're working with MetaLink to help us with the access point.
Okay.
So it'll be a secure network and won't be accessible through our firewall, so to speak. So it'll be a secure access point
Okay,
for the Wi-Fi connection.
all right, thank you. We have a motion to accept.
Motion to approve, accept.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Dan,
Abstain.
Joe,
Yes,
Lori.
Yes.
okay, that has been accepted. We'll go,
Should I say?
too late now.
Too late? Great.
All right, we'll go around the table here. We'll start with Ross today.
Nothing for me, sir.
All right. Ken?
Question for the engineering.
Yes, sir.
What kind of curb would that be on Oakwood Street?
It would be type 2, which is,
The rolled or
No.
the stand-up?
it'd be, from the edge of pavement to the back of curb is 2.5 feet wide, and then the curb comes up 6 inches, and then we drop it at the driveway.
That's my kind of curb. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Dan?
Just one question. I did see that there's consideration to, maybe the mayor knows more on this, joint meeting with the commissioners, and are we trying to set something up for a time other than this weekend?
Yeah, I think when we, responded back and forth about who could be available, this Saturday was not a good day for a majority of us, so we gotta have a new date. My thought was, since we're basically all here on Monday night, let's just invite them for 6 o'clock on a Monday night, like before the next council meeting. That we should be done by 7. We're all here anyways, that's kind of my thought. I know, not everybody's gonna be here next meeting, but we don't do it then, we can do it in mid-May too, the May 17th. I just thought that'd be really easy. I know Saturday mornings get really difficult for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Soccer games, baptisms, family events, stuff that work, whatever it is. It's just an option for it.
I think that's good. We can reach out to them, ask them if that works. If not, we
Okay.
can try the next one.
Okay. Should try the next council meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you take care of that for us, Ross? Thank you.
Anything else, Dan?
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
It's a nice event last Thursday, a little brisk outside, but a nice way to open up the golf course clubhouse. That was really well done. So, really big improvement from the last one. It looks like a golf course clubhouse, and not a small building, they just throw golf stuff in. So, it'll be exciting when the landscaping gets done, the whole project gets done, but that was a really big milestone, I thought, and appreciate everybody that was able to make it that day. It is Northwest Ohio weather, so I think it was actually warmer the week before, but it was a bright sunshiny day, and we'll take that absolutely. Tree Commission tonight, we gave a plaque to Dave Volkman. When Dave finishes his current term on the Tree Commission, he will have served on the Tree Commission for 30 years. He just loves that part of it, so it's 30 years of volunteer service to the city, so I really appreciate that. I think the plan is this year, when we do our Arbor Day celebration in the fall, I think we let Dave pick out the kind of tree that we're gonna plant and then put a little plaque by it, this tree given and, for Dave and his 30 years of service to the city. So I really appreciate everybody's help with that. That's a team effort to get that, and obviously thankful to Dave Volkman for all his service. And Really appreciate that. Last Wednesday morning, I met with Mayor Mike Barhorst from the city of Sydney. He does stuff with Mayor Association here in the state, and took him around and kind of drove him around the city, kind of give him a quick little tour, and all kind of stuff going with the Mayor's Association that I wasn't aware of, which is kind of nice. But the city of Sydney has the same kind of problems that we have. Housing and workforce. That's what we got. I pointed out the new pool going in, and he said, the city of Dayton closed 3 of their 4 municipal golf courses this year. And then he asked, do we have a problem getting lifeguards for our pool? I said, no, our city has a pretty good aquatic program through the school. He said, that's great. So, but it's just nice to know him. Retired educator, principal, really just a really nice guy. This is his second go-around as mayor, so it's really nice to spend some time with him, so appreciate him coming up. We talked about meeting with the commissioners already. I need to go into a brief executive session for economic development.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lori?
Just wondering if anyone had a chance to look at the drain on North Harmony that I mentioned.
Yes, I believe we did. There was a, oh, yes. So,
I need the address.
Okay. I don't know it off the top of my head. It's like the last house one.
We'd be happy to take a look at it.
All right, thank you. Just ditto what the mayor said about the clubhouse opening, and extend a thank you to Joe and Jason for boosting my confidence going into summer league. So appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dave Pleck said it best. How do you two-putt the hair in your face on a blowy, windy day like that?
I'm used to it.
We don't have that problem.
No, and we still didn't golf that well.
No.
That's all for me.
Thank you. Okay, Jeff?
I noticed in some of the bills, we're using Fritz and Riders as our maintenance for our electrical or our air conditioning system.
HVAC, yeah, HVAC maintenance checks.
We're always harping about shopping local. There's no companies here in Napoleon or Henry County. Fritz and Riders out of Defiance.
I don't know, and I don't know if they do them as cheap as Fitz and Riders
I
either.
think we looked at that about 5 years ago. Fitz and Riders were the cheapest, but it has been a few years.
Sure.
I'm not sure what that contract is.
It's department by department is how
Okay.
it's set up. So each department kind of has their own maintenance contract with Fitz and Riders for whatever HVAC systems
Sure.
they have. It depends on what it is. And then whatever Tom is capable of doing,
Mhm.
he's now doing. So, we've assigned that to him. But there's some other more significant specialized type checks
Sure.
that need to be done on some of the units. Depends on what they are, how big they are.
I'm also, I see we brought a new mower from Red Barn. I'm gonna hear it again from Freedom Sales because,
Yep, we looked at it. We looked at Freedom.
okay,
So we looked at all the options,
All right.
including Freedom Sales. I know that Tony's had a conversation with,
Jason. Yeah.
yes, yep.
Okay, all right. Because he's always asking me, can't we shop local? I said,
We've bought some from there too.
sure.
Yep.
Okay,
It depends on the application too. Some of the mowers are better for, the big fields,
Mhm.
and some of them are better for getting around gravestones.
okay.
It just depends on the type of mower for the type of use. So,
All right, I'm happy with that
yep.
answer. Thank you.
Yep.
Nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Molly?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay. Joel?
I actually was just going to note, and sorry, Kelly, if I'm stealing your thunder here, but the American Rescue Plan funding that's out there. We don't have any guidance on how to spend it yet, so I know there's a webinar coming up that we'll be on. We have some ideas based on the very limited amount of guidance that they've given us. So one of them is covering some of our revenue losses that we've experienced. Kelly's got a lot of that already put together. We'll have some recommendations, and I believe that in the limited amount of guidance that we have now, that it can run through 2024, what you spend it on. So we have a few ideas right now, but nothing real formalized yet. We want to wait and see what comes of it, some of this guidance that comes out, and go from there. So it's 1.6 million, just so, just as one thing, it's 1.61 million actually. And I believe that's
Can we
all I
pay
got.
for American Road with that?
Pardon?
Can we pay for American Road with that?
You stole my joke.
It does cover infrastructure, including water lines and sewer lines, but it was super vague. I mean, it basically just said what I just said. That was all the guidance they gave.
Yeah, if you bury it, you might be able to pass it off.
Yeah, right. That's
If you
it.
drive on it, you may not be able to.
That's right. Yep, that's the interpretation right now. So,
And like last year, where we had a new definition of fluid situation, I think that same kind of thing is gonna be with these rules. They have so many days to come up with the solid rules, then they'll end up on if they have 90 days, we're gonna get the draft, or the final version on midnight on day 90. So, they're gonna take their time to do it.
Anything else?
yep.
Billy?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay. And Kelly?
Nothing now because Joel took it.
Oh, Joel. Sorry, Kelly, I didn't have you before him.
Okay.
I have nothing more to add. I do have go into executive session for personnel also. All right, could I have a motion to go into executive session for economic development?
So move. Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
And could I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel?
So move. Second.
Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right. Now we can do the economic development first.
Okay.
Hey, could I have a motion to come out of executive session for economic development?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, no action taken. And can I have a motion to come out of executive session for discuss personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, no action taken. Item L, approve payment of bills and financial reports. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the payment of bills and financial reports shall stand approved. Okay, hearing none, they stand approved. Could I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes,
Lori.
Yes.
we are adjourned.
The real name was must be closed.